Most people think that Gringo Papi is the worst comedy special that they have ever laid eyes upon. And while that's not a completely invalid opinion, with it almost being 2 years since Thick Boy Productions blessed us with this comedy gem, I think it's time for some honest reflection. Does this special deserve the hate that it gets? What changes could have been made to improve the Gringo Papi special? Were there any glimpses of hope? Is there anything even remotely positive about the Gringo Papi special? I think there is. So stick around for that. That's like 99% of the people watching this video just gone.
Like the Thick Boy Squad, Big Boy Squad, Big Boy Nation, Big Boy Squad, Big Boy Nation. Running up the miles while they running out of patience. Just the Thick Boy Squad, Big Boy Nation.
Right off the bat, as first impressions go, it's not great. First of all, we have the music. I understand that music is subjective, but man, could you have at least picked something else? Also, we got to take a look at the background of the special. Now, I got no idea what was going on here. I don't know whether the comedy club that he went to just didn't want to be associated with this project, so they put this up last minute. Yeah, it's not great. I know we're literally only like 20 seconds into the special, but I can't help but mention it because first impressions count, especially when you're Brendan. There was a lot of expectation riding on this second special, and getting these small minute details locked in is so important, especially in Brendan's case, because it's the small things like this that stack up over the duration of the special that lead Brendan into fighting an uphill battle. And especially having a reputation like Brendan's before going into this special, it's even more important that you pay attention to the smaller minute details. In cases like this, you have no choice but to be vigilant, plain and simple.
Dipping in nacho cheese. Oh, my bad, Mr. Whole Foods, my bad. Yeah, whatever you want to do, man.
Okay, now here's the funny thing. I understand that people hate Gringo Papi, but I have to admit, I don't think I hate this special as much as everybody else does, if that makes sense. And I might be in the minority of people saying that. That's fine. Listen, I'm not saying that this is the best special that I've ever watched. I'm not saying that this is perfect. But I think now would be a really good time to bring in a little theory or a little term that I've coined, and that is called the Brendan bias effect. Now, this is going to be a very unpopular opinions, and all the keyboard warriors are sat there salivating right now. They're like, I can't wait to see what he has to say. I'm sorry, I don't know what that was. But how many of you genuinely hated the Gringo Papi special? Think about it seriously before you answer this question. Did you genuinely hate the special because it's bad, or are you just hating it because it's Brendan Schaub and because of the bad reputation that he has? Do you hate it for what it actually is, or do you hate it because of the person behind the special? You see what I'm saying? The Brendan bias effect. Because I feel like anything that Brendan touches, anything that Brendan does is automatically going to be tarnished just because of the name attached to it, just because of the things he's done, and just because of the person that he is. So think about it. Do you genuinely hate this special, or do you just hate it because it's Brendan? Think about this now. If it was a different comedian who produced an exact special like this, do you think it would be getting the same level as hate? Do you think you would have the same reception to the special if it was another person or another comic other than Brendan? I understand, I get it. The special isn't great, but I'm just saying personally, I don't feel the same kind of hatred and animosity to the special as other people do, and I really don't know why that is, but I think this Brendan bias effect that I've just presented to you guys could be a potential reason why maybe this special is getting more hate than it potentially deserves. Again, just posing the question. Now, some of the people in the beginning when this special first launched may not have felt so strongly about it, but after all the countless amounts of YouTube videos and commentary channels like this talking about it and hating on it, did you hate this special because that's what you actually felt, or was your perspective on the special tainted because of everything else that you've been told or everything else that you saw on social media? Do you hate it because you genuinely hate it, or do you hate it because you have been told to hate it? Again, just a question. Let me know in the comments.
I'm not used to this. Dallas a little different. There's some ladies in the crowd tonight.
Didn't he say he had a wife?
I married a Mexican, y'all. I married a Mexican.
Okay, so here's another thing here, right?
That's it all up for everybody scared the shit out of from getting vaccinated. Remember that idiot?
Brendan needs to slow down. I don't know if you caught it there, but Brendan's tripping over his words, okay? Now, I don't know whether this could be nerves or some of the CTE from his UFC days, but he just needs to turn it down just a notch. I find this funny because if you know me personally, you know I can have a tendency to trip over my words, but you guys don't get to see that because I edit it out. Edit it out. Christ. This is going to be a long video.
That's into his background. Remember that? They put him on the news. He's sweaty as shit. He was on all the major broadcasts. He's like, holy shit, dude! Yeah, I got it done. I got that Johnson & Johnson, bro. I don't feel good, bro. I can't stop sweating, bro. I feel like I'm growing wings. I'm gonna lay low for a little bit on the vaccination. I'm just gonna...
It's easy to criticize the whole COVID material and say it was lazy, but because of the time period, because it was relevant, I'm going to let that one slide.
I married a Mexican, y'all. I married a Mexican.
Now, when it comes to family material, it can be really good at bringing a sense of uniqueness to your comedy. If your family and the things that happen within your family is a very personal event, it's personal to you, and it can add a really unique spin to a comic's material. It can be a very, very good distinguishing factor. And especially when the COVID material was hot, I think talking about your family could have been a really, really good way to twist that situation and turn it into something that's unique to you. I'll give you an example of somebody who does the family material really well, and that's Sebastian Maniscalco. I mean, the guy's a legend at it. I mean, he's great. He's an example of somebody who does the family material very well. Now, Brendan, on the other hand, it went a little...
Dicey.
Yeah. It went like that. The annoying thing is with Brendan is that throughout the special, I feel like he had some good premises, but he just didn't deliver on them. Brendan had topics like family, his, the Mexican culture within his household and other things like that, but they were just executed poorly, in my opinion. A good example of Brendan's poor execution on the family material is when it comes to his wife. Now, I understand that in comedy, slating your wife and complaining about her on stage is pretty common, something that I don't necessarily have something against, right? If somebody does it right. But that's the thing. Brendan, he didn't do it right, because for me personally, it just sounded like he was absolutely dogging on his wife. Now, on the odd occasion, this is completely fine, but Brendan does this throughout the special. I'll play some clips for you now.
I realize my girl's not cool. She's not a friendly human being. I married a goddamn rattlesnake. She's like, this is my girl. This is my girl, man. Those little friends out front in the first day outfits. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are cute as shit. I need to document this. I go, T, get tight. There's a bunch of you squeezing tight. Daddy's gonna take a picture. Ready? Cheese on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Cheese. I take out my phone. I'm all, hell yeah. I snap a pic. I text it to my girl. She gets it. She looks at it. She goes, crop out the uglies. Resend. I said, you're in a group chat with other parents, dumbass. I'm talking Guadalajara. Born and raised. Came to the States 10 years ago. Illegally Mexican.
You see, Brendan doing this multiple times throughout the special, I mean, he paints his wife out to be an absolute demon, like a terrible woman, an awful human being, like a real nasty piece of work. I mean, did he get his wife's approval for this material? Sure hope he did. Oh, now we get to the funny part. Now, believe it or not, within this special, there were some glimpses of potential. I know, shocking. Crazy. Okay, I want to bring this moment up right here.
My white friends learned a Latino before. Go, dude, just fucking learn Spanish. Put a little effort in. Learn Spanish. How hard can it be? I'm all, bitch, I am 38. I struggle with English at times.
Because I want to give Brendan credit where credit is due. If you guys didn't leave at the start of the video, you definitely left now. But just hear me out, because this is the only part where Brendan actually makes fun of himself. And the reason why this is so important is because Brendan right here has demonstrated the ability that he has the potential to make fun of himself, and he doesn't take himself so seriously. Now, these two things are very, very important given Brendan's current perceptions. I feel like if there was any changes that could have been made to try and improve this special overall, I feel like one thing that I would definitely add or suggest is Brendan not being afraid to take the mick out of himself, being able to take that leap of faith, being like, listen, this is who I am. These are the things I've done. I know I ain't perfect, but let's just all have a laugh and a joke about it. I feel that way he'd gain a lot more respect. I feel like he probably wouldn't get as much hate as he does. He'd be opening up that more vulnerable, less serious side of himself, right? Because me personally, I see Brendan as a goofy character, and I feel like if he leaned into that just a little bit more, he'd have a lot more people on side. Because I think right now, when we see Brendan taking himself too seriously, it looks like Brendan Schaub playing or portraying as somebody else. When I watch Brendan, I don't feel like we're getting Brendan, if that makes sense. So I feel like if he was to embrace that goofier side of him and really be vulnerable and take the time to, you know, take the mick out of himself, Brendan would put himself in a much better position instead of trying to be this, you know, look at me, I take myself so seriously type of guy. Again, it all comes back to authenticity and just being himself. I think most of Brendan's problems arise when he tries to act or betray somebody who he isn't, right? It's like faking the funk. You can smell it from a mile away. So to summarize that point, I think Brendan just has to lean into his insecurities just a little bit more. At the end of the day, people love a little bit of self-deprecating humor. I mean, I know I do. It makes you relatable, makes you vulnerable, and those are things that I think people can connect with.
Reddit hurts my feelings. But you know, at the same time, I get it. There's a lot to hate on. I get it, but they're off, man. If they met me, I think we'd be friends, but they also might kill me. So it's a dicey. I can't go in there. I'm not that tough. I can't do it. It's fucking the worst shit you ever read in your life. And there's not a therapist on this fucking planet who can navigate through that. They're all right, it's just online. Just ignore it. I'm like, that's easy, bitch. You're 60.
Wouldn't be a video about Gringo Papi or Brendan Schaub without addressing the lies. Now, one story in particular that really made me roll my eyes, and that's when he was talking about the mountain lion when he moved into his new neighborhood.
So first night in the new house, everything's all good, man. Everything all good. Kids fall asleep, girl fall asleep, I fall asleep, all good. 3 a.m. on the dot. I'm woken up to next day I install the security stuff, cameras. 3 a.m. on the goddamn dot. I'm woken up again. What I didn't know about this Ring app, there's an entire community of people just snitching on each other. What I didn't know is you can narrow it down to your hood. So I'm like, ooh, let's see what's popping in this new neighborhood of mine. 2 doors down, Jerry goes, this mountain lion ate my goddamn dogs. Diane, right next door to me, goes, yeah, that mountain lion ripped my goddamn cat's head off and ate all of them. Somebody needs to do something. But that gives me the idea. I'm like, I'm going to take care of this little kitty problem for them. That's what I'm going to do. But I need to buy a gun. So I go into my local LA gun store. I walked out with an AR-15. I walked out with the Zero Dark 30 Navy SEAL night vision helmet. 3 a.m. hits. I hear, wow. I slide that glass door open. I'm all, yeah. I've never seen a mountain lion in person before. Dude, I went, oh shit. I slammed the door. Dude, I threw my AR-15 like this. I got on that Ring app the next morning. I went, yo, we got a mountain lion problem, y'all.
Now, I understand that for comedians to make stories fun and engaging and for them to embed the jokes within the story, there's going to be some exaggerations of the truth, right? That is necessary in order for you to tell a good story on stage, because sometimes, you know, unfortunately in life, not every story that you tell is going to be the most, or not everything that happens to you is going to be the most entertaining thing to ever happen on this planet. That's just not how life works, right? So I understand that some tweaks need to be made, but this story with the mountain lion and he got the gun, it's like you can sense my frustration, right? The things aren't adding up. I remember, I can't remember who said this, but they said if you're gonna lie about something, just lie about it a little bit. The problem is with this story, although it had the potential to be funny, just none of it is realistic. None of it, I can't picture a watered down or a tamer version of this story because it's just so out there and it's just so wild. And again, with Brendan and lies, I could make a whole, we could be here for hours on end, right? But I feel like if you're going to tell stories like this, have an element of truth to them, or even if somehow, some way this story is true, only exaggerate the truth just a little bit. Look at people like Theo Von, right? He's become insanely popular for it. Or even Joey Diaz, just slight bends, slight exaggerations on the truth. This story that Brendan told here, it's like when you're like 5 and you come and you run home from school and you tell your parents some BS story that absolutely just didn't happen. You're convinced that it did, and your parents are just looking at you like, yeah, sure, honey. Kid's got a wild imagination. It sounds like a child retelling one of his fantasy. Or if you're going to tell stories, just bend the truth slightly. Looking back at the Gringo Papi special, as I've mentioned, I don't hate it as much as everybody else does. I feel like a large portion for the hate online, maybe, and this may be unpopular, but it's not because people genuinely feel that amount of hatred in their heart. I think it's because their thoughts have been consciously or unconsciously influenced by what other YouTubers are saying or what other things they've seen online. And maybe some people just feel like they need to conform to that to fit in. Or maybe there's some people that, I don't want to say enjoyed it, because enjoyed is a strong word, but maybe you're in the same boat as me and didn't hate this special as much as everybody else did, but maybe he's too afraid to say it, so they just adopt the mindset of, oh yeah, I hate this special, it was terrible, it was terrible, it was terrible. Again, it's not great, but is it as bad as people are saying it is? It's a little bit of Brendan bias, okay? Think about it, seriously. I really do feel like the Gringo Papi special, it could have been a lot better. I feel like we could have gotten something different, had some changes had been made. I mean, as Brendan, surely you're self-aware enough to know what your reputation is, and it should have been more the reason why this special should have been dealt with a lot more delicately and not paying attention to the small details like the set. Brendan was fighting an uphill battle from the start, you know? I feel like the jokes had decent premises, at least, you know, especially with the whole Mexican culture and, you know, the things that goes on in his household. I feel like there was a lot there and Brendan just didn't really deliver on it. This Gringo Papi special needed to be handled with care, and it needed to be handled extremely delicately if Brendan's goal of this special was to try and right the wrongs of his previous one. If the goal of the Gringo Papi was to say, hey, listen guys, I know my first special was a bit of a flop, it didn't go down too great, but hey, I'm trying something new. It's going to be a shorter special, so you don't have to watch me for as long. And let's just call this a clean slate, a blank slate, and we can start fresh. If that was Brendan's goal, then I think Brendan or Thick Boy Productions, whoever produced this, really needed to think about this a lot more carefully. But Brendan's special just didn't do him any favors. If you're, you know, a little bit angry, that's fine. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. On this channel, we're all about promoting discussion, just trying to get you to think about things a little bit differently. If is there a perspective or something that I mentioned that made you think about the whole situation a little bit differently, you know, that's what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to promote discussion, healthy discussion. But seriously, do think about what I said. Do you hate Brendan because you genuinely hate him because that's what's in your heart? Or do you think, honestly, you're influenced by what other people are saying, and maybe that has influenced how you perceive Brendan and the things that he does? Think about it. Let me know in the comments down below. But if you have enjoyed or if I've made you think differently about the situation, then leave a like, leave a comment, share, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. You guys really came through in the last video, so just thank you so much. I am so appreciative of all the support that you guys have been giving me recently. It's absolutely insane. But all your support, it really does help the channel. It really, really does. But thank you for watching. I'll be seeing you same time, same place. Maybe not the same time, because that's going to depend on where you are in the country, but you get the point. I'll see you next week.